Fionn, so much has happened with Sinn Féin over the last few weeks, but I want to start with Brian Stanley, and maybe we'll go with his announcement that he had resigned from Sinn Féin on Saturday night. And he really got out ahead of the party in terms of putting his story out in the public first.
Yeah, so within 48 hours at the weekend, Mary Lou McDonald lost 2 TDs and her party was forced to admit referring cases to both the PSNI and the Gardaí. And that's entirely separate from the damage of the job references for the paedophile. So this is very serious stuff for Sinn Féin. So Brian Stanley, issue number 1, he comes out late on Saturday night, locally in his Laois home base, and says he is resigning from Sinn Féin. He is running in the general election as an independent Republican TD. He says the reason he is resigning is because allegations were made against him within the party and investigated by the party in a manner which he described as akin to a kangaroo court. Now that has all sorts of connotations for Sinn Féin, given the manner in which they have handled, they and the Republican movement have handled issues in the past. He says the allegations against him are unfounded. He's not happy with the manner in which he was treated by the party. Over to Sinn Féin then, what are you saying? So that takes them till the following afternoon on Sunday. They come out and say that allegations were made against Brian Stanley, who was being investigated. Counter allegations were made by him, and that on foot of his resignation, this matter has now been referred to An Garda Síochána, even though they're not saying it's alleging criminality, which begs the question, what are you referring it to the guards for so? And we now have a bit more of a timeline. A complaint was made in July, a written statement in August to Sinn Féin, a disciplinary inquiry set up, 3 members on it, a barrister and 2 other figures. Now turns out the barrister was a Sinn Féin member and the 2 other figures were also Sinn Féin members, one from the north, one from the south. Brian Stanley and his accuser, both witnesses, they come forward, they are interviewed, they make statements. Brian Stanley is represented by a solicitor and a barrister in this inquiry. Sinn Féin saying it was entirely independent. They then say that 10 days ago, October the 4th, a preliminary report is sent back to the party leadership about what happened here. They're saying there weren't final recommendations or findings. That's sent to the 2 parties for them to respond to as well, in line with due process. And then even at that point, you're still asking, so why is this going to the guards? Brian Stanley then resigns. So they said that the process is now stopped because Brian Stanley is no longer a member of the party, and this was an internal party matter. So it's now been referred onto the guards due to an abundance of caution. An abundance of caution is a phrase frequently used by Mary Lou McDonald here, for the Gardaí to look at the matter. Now, no complaint was made to the Gardaí by Brian Stanley's accuser, nor by Brian Stanley TD himself. Sinn Féin, as a third party that looked into this matter, are now referring it to the Gardaí. The Gardaí do not deal with administrative, clerical or organisational matters within a party. They can only deal with allegations of criminality. So the questions being raised here to Sinn Féin are, A, what criminality are you saying happened here, potentially? And B, at what point did you dawn on you that this is a potentially criminal matter, and why did you not refer it previously?